Hello and welcome back to A Course in Miracles Workbook Lesson 43. Today's lesson is God is my source. I cannot see apart from him. For today, we are to do 3 long 5-minute practice periods. For these, we are to, with our eyes open, say the lesson. God is my source. I cannot see apart from him. Then look around where you are and pick out 4 or 5 specific objects, but be indiscriminate about which items you pick and be specific to the item. So, for example, you would say, God is my source. I cannot see this desk apart from him. Then close your eyes, and for the rest of the period, we are going to do similar to yesterday's lesson. We are to allow thoughts to come into our head. Now, these ones don't have to be as specific as we were for yesterday's lesson, but any irrelevant thoughts we don't want to go into, and we want to have thoughts. So if you do not have any thoughts come in, then open your eyes and repeat the lesson again. God is my source. I cannot see apart from him, and try again. And keep doing that if no thoughts come. And examples of thoughts that you might have could be, I see through the eyes of forgiveness. I see the world as blessed. The world can show me myself, or I see my own thoughts, which are like God's. And for the rest of the day, we are to do small practice periods where we apply things to this lesson. So if you're with people, or like, for example, I'm here with my cat, I can apply it to him. You say, God is my source. I cannot see you apart from him, me talking to my cat. And if you do not have anything specific that's coming up, you can also just repeat the phrase again. God is my source. I cannot see apart from him. And it specifically says that they want us to not go for any long periods of time throughout the entire day without thinking back on this concept. And for the lessons, they recommend that we do a long lesson in the morning, a long lesson in the evening, and the third long lesson sometime when it is convenient. And then also, I want to read the beginning part of this, because usually I kind of paraphrase it, but this I felt was more important to just read the whole thing. Perception is not an attribute of God. His is the realm of knowledge, yet he has created the Holy Spirit as the mediator between perception and knowledge. Without this link with God, perception would have replaced knowledge forever in your mind. With this link with God, perception will become so changed and purified that it will lead to knowledge. That is its function as the Holy Spirit sees it. Therefore, that is its function in truth. In God, you cannot see. Perception has no function in God and does not exist. Yet in salvation, which is the undoing of what never was, perception has a mighty purpose. Made by the Son of God for an unholy purpose, it must become the means for the restoration of his holiness to his awareness. Perception has no meaning, yet does the Holy Spirit give it a meaning very close to God's. Healed perception becomes the means by which the Son of God forgives his brother and thus forgives himself. You cannot see apart from God because you cannot be apart from God. Whatever you do in him, because whatever you think with God's mind. If vision is real, and it is real to the extent to which it shares the Holy Spirit's purpose, then you cannot see apart from God. So I felt the need to read that whole thing because it's a lot. And I want to say that I understand it, but at the same time, I don't feel that I understand it well enough to explain it fully. So we're talking about how we are with God and God holds the meaning, right? So the thing is that in reality, we do not have perception. We created perception and thus gave ourselves the illusion. So in itself, perception has no meaning because the only meaning comes from God, and perception was created by us with our separation from God. So it's not that it wasn't created, that it was created separate from God. It was created as an illusion of our separation from God. But yet they're saying the Holy Spirit, which, if I remember right, they said is our connection with God, right? Then because of pulling back that oneness that we have with God and our holiness, then we can give meaning onto the perception. But in itself, the perception was an illusion created to create the lie of the separation. But through that is the only way that we can truly forgive, because I think the reason of that is because if we go back to our whole oneness with God, no one would be separated and there would be nothing to forgive. So the only way that you can forgive and heal the you aspect is through your experience as you, which relies on perception. That probably is not very clear, but that's the best that I can do trying to paraphrase this at this time.